This episode is brought to you by Burn, the fitness company behind the Today Show approved Burn board. If I'm being honest, working out can be a real chore, especially as a new dad in desperate need of sleep and cardio. Burn is founded by NEPA native Jimmy T. Martin, and his Burn board offers a low-impact core and cardio experience unlike anything I've done before. They have hundreds of on-demand workouts that are great for beginners, seasoned athletes, and out-of-shape podcast hosts who love supporting small businesses. My wife and I use it pretty frequently throughout the week, and it's honestly a great way to burn a ton of calories without burning a ton of cash. Not to mention, it's a great tool for skiers, runners, wrestlers, and hockey players. Jimmy is offering all On the Stacks listeners 15% off when they use the code STACKS15. Visit theburn.com today to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15 at checkout. Again, that's theburn, THEBRRN.com to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15. It's time to get on board today with Burn. This episode is brought to you by Blue Door Financial. Blue Door Financial will help you save money and reduce taxes to live a fuller financial life. To learn more, visit Blue Door Financial online at BLUdoorfinancial.com. That's BLUdoorfinancial.com.
It sounds so cliche, it's not about the destination, man, it's the journey, like that whole thing, but it's kind of true. It's like you want to savor these experiences, you want to savor all of the moments, you want to savor the bad times and the good times with all of it. And I think that applies to your life too, outside of your career, your family, the ups and the downs to everything. It just has taught me to savor all the little things. And when we're in a rut, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a thing we're getting through,
Oh yeah, whoa. Look, they can never keep me down, I'm going. And if I ever fail, just know I'll go again. I never quit, cause I know that every loss may lead to another win. I'm going up.
Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr. This is the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Ed Cuozzo, lead singer, songwriter, and guitarist for the band University Drive. What's up, podcast? Episode 124 of the On the Stacks podcast here in the Blue Door studio. Welcome to the show, Ed. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I was going to try to say your last name, but I'm probably going to butcher it again. But here we go. Ready?
Go for it.
Cuozzo.
You did it.
Cuozzo.
Fucking didn't fuck it up.
I nailed it.
You're the man. You're the first.
Oh, my God. All right, so how many variations of Cuozzo do you get?
I've heard Cuozzo. I've heard Cuozzo. I've heard Cuzco. That's not a joke.
Cuzco.
One of my elementary teachers said Cuzco, and I think that's it. Cuzzo and Cuzzo.
What else? What did I call you? I called you Cuzzo.
Cuzzo.
Before we started, I'm like, all right, you got to pronounce this, because in my head I've been saying Cuzzo,
which to me sounds almost like a term of endearment.
It
so
does.
I kind of like it. That's my Cuzzo.
Yeah, it's my Cuzzo. There you go. It might be a new thing.
It could be.
Could be a new thing. So before we started, I also said we gotta start the show off right.
Exactly.
And just tell some really embarrassing Eric Curtis stories.
Exactly.
We got to get him real nervous. So.
That was my plan before when you approached me, or when this whole thing got started. The first thing I thought was how do I fuck Eric through this? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I'm gonna patch Ryan Grutt, my bass player, is a good friend in, and we're gonna just totally destroy him.
Yeah. So for
the
those,
next hour.
yeah, exactly. So for those listening and watching that may not know, so Eric Curtis, I've nicknamed him ETP, Eric the producer. He edits the video of the show here.
Right.
So for those listening that are like, who's Eric? What's the story behind all this? So Ed and Eric are friends, and that's kind of how this triangle happened here. Now we're going to do a podcast, a whole hour. The roast of Eric Curtis.
That's the whole plan.
Yeah, that's all I had in my outline, by the way.
I don't know what any of this shit's doing here. My whole plan is just to screw him for the next hour and a half or whatever. So
yeah. So all right. So but on a serious note, we'll do a little bit of Eric roasting. But
okay, cool.
You're a musician.
Yes.
Songwriter, lead singer.
Yep.
Play guitar. I'm always fascinated by people that play music. I'm not a musically inclined person, but I love music, and I find people like you so interesting because you're just so creative, and everything what you can do. I find it very interesting.
Right.
So I'm just really looking forward to hearing your story and your journey. You've been playing music for 20 years?
21. 21 when I really think about it. Yeah, probably about 21 years. Yeah, when I was a kid, I just my like induction into music is really strange because it wasn't like I had like two versions of getting into music. So like when I was about 12 or maybe 10, something like that, I used to see like the 80s hair bands and stuff, like videos and the behind the music, like all that stuff on like Motley Crue, and just hearing the stories and seeing like these ridiculous looking human beings like talking, you know, just dressed with crazy makeup on and everything. I was more into the theatrics of everything, like, but outside of songs or music, I was just like, look at the cool thing he's holding, and
you're like, what's he doing?
Yeah, and he's got big shoes on and he's playing cool jacket, you know, like what I actually used to do when I was like 10 years old. I've told this story quite a few times, but I don't know if you ever remember a magazine called Hit Parader.
I don't know.
There was like a metal magazine essentially. And what I would do was I was also a fan of like WWE. I was a big wrestling fan. So like I had all these action figures.
Who's your favorite?
Bret Hart.
Okay.
I always loved the Bret.
Sorry, I had to throw that before I forgot.
Dude, Hart Foundation. Okay. A lot of people be like, fuck the Hart Foundation. No, Hart Foundation for life. What's it called? But what I would do is I would have like my action figures of like Sting and Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan or whoever, and I would cut out pictures of like Motley Crue and just tape them over
on the
them,
figures.
Like, or cut out the guitars and have them hold guitars. But then I just go like to my aunt's CD player and play like Dr. Feelgood like 30 times and just make them dance.
Yeah, there you go.
So that was my first version.
That's part one.
That was like part one of me kind of giving a shit about music. And I asked my mom to get me guitar lessons. I went and did it, and I kind of hated it. And then I went back and learned a little bit, but kind of wasn't into it, so I fell out of it.
So why? Like, why did you like hate it or not get into it at first?
You want to know what? The first time I got guitar lessons, it was from this guy that was like a neighbor to my grandparents' house, and he was just a weird guy. Like, he was a nice guy, But I was like, I'm thinking now the real age is probably closer to 8 or 9 years old. So I'm a little kid, you know?
Yeah, and you're with some weird dude.
And I'm just some weird, and they're just like, all right, I can't remember his name, but let's call him Max because that feels right at the moment.
Yeah, Max.
Max.
Mr. Max.
Mr. Max.
Yep.
So my mom's like, all right, Max is going to, give you your guitar lessons. We'll be over your aunt's house or whatever next door. Okay. And I remember one time I like had to use the bathroom, and I've told you before the podcast started, I have stomach issues, and when I was a kid they were really bad, like way worse than they are now. So during our guitar lesson I just kept running back and forth to the bathroom because I had to shit. So like just over and over again, which anybody watching this will totally be like, yeah, he totally had to shit.
Yeah, that's him.
That's him. Yeah. But I remember I came down, this was like into like maybe 2 weeks of guitar lessons with them, and he kind of yelled at me about the whole thing
for using the bathroom.
Yeah, like it made a big deal out of it, and that kind of just put a bad taste in my mouth as far as like this awkward situation.
Yeah, just got heated.
Yeah, I just got 9-year-old got heated for taking a shit, like
yeah.
So yeah, I kind of fell out of it for a little bit, but then I went to Gallucci Music, and Conway, I think his name was, great guitar teacher, and he showed me a couple things, but all I wanted to do was learn songs. Like he was trying to show me like theory, and here's the arpeggios, and here's the theory, and I was like, that's cool. Can you teach me that Everlast song? Can I learn this Metallica song? Like that's all. I was just concerned with learning songs.
You just want to play the music you like.
Yeah. I just wanted to like be able to strum the chords and like turn the CD on and play the music, So I did that for a little while, and then I ended up moving and kind of falling out of it. I got into martial arts for quite a few years. I was like really into all that stuff, and then when I was like 14, and I just had moved to Scott Township, I was going to Lakeland, and my one good friend, Brian Arrigo, who was the drummer in my very first band, he I was like just listening to radio rock essentially at the time, and it was when like LimeWire and all that stuff was very very big. Napster, exactly, all that stuff. And he had a video of the band Nirvana playing this song called "Breed" live, and it just like floored me, like stopped me in my tracks. Because when I thought of bands from my youth, from the hit parade or cutting the thing out of the magazine, like WWF characters, you know, when I thought of bands, my first thought was like theatrics and things sounding perfect. And here I was, like, for the first time in my life, like looking at a band that didn't sound perfect, and it was kind of sloppy and a train wreck, and the audience was losing their mind, but at the same time it sounded like glorious. So I like fell in love big time. And then I listened to the Nevermind record, and I was like, that's what I'm doing. That's it. And that was it from 14, and now I'm 34. So 35.
35.
So
yeah,
it's been a long time.
So that was it. Went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
music,
and I'm still down the rabbit hole.
You're still there
forever. Yep.
Yeah. On the Stacks will be back in a flash after a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Jamie Anzalone, and welcome to Access Anzalone. I wanted to continue talking about the importance of picking the right personal injury lawyer when you've been in an accident, a victim of medical malpractice, or unfortunately in a truck crash accident. The segment I want to talk about today is the need for the lawyer that you pick to have proper technology. Not only technology in a courtroom, but technology in working your case up, which adds to the efficiency and the quickness that your case can be handled. Everything we do is on a computer system, so it's not uncommon for us to work up 20 or 30 cases in a given day, because everything for us is really on a dashboard in front of us. So if you want a law firm that's going to be able to compete and move at a speed that's greater than the insurance company, you need a law firm that has the proper technology.
And now we're back on the Stacks. So, all right, so how old were you at that point?
14. Yeah, about 14.
And then what'd you do? Did you just, like, at that point, did you say, like, hey, I want to start my own band? Or, like, are you just, like, still playing on your own? And
It was kind of like the people that I was hanging out with, you know, like, because they introduced me to it, and we were starting little bands, but they weren't real bands. We'd be like, we should start a band, and then we'd get in a room with no amps or no drums or anything, and we would just, like, you know, play a keyboard note and say, like, dude, I totally wrote a song. We weren't doing anything. We're just being silly kids, you know. But after that, we kind of got serious. Me and two friends, Brian Arrigo and my other friend Dan Baczynski. And we started our first band called Meld It, and it was just basically three dudes, like, ripping off Nirvana hard, you know. It was so glorious, like the first time you do it, you know. Like, I remember when we kind of got a room and we were just learning covers, like learning Nirvana songs and learning, like, early Weezer songs, and, like, the fun of that, and, like, oh my God, like, I'm putting my hands here and I'm singing the thing, and and we're doing it together, this united effort. It was, like, magical, you know. It's before, like, the years go by and you could just see it for what it is and become more analytical about the whole thing, and it just seems truly magical at that age, you know. So but what was really magical, and the one thing I think that most musicians who, like, record themselves keep chasing, I know I'm still chasing it. We went to a studio. I remember that, like, we booked our first studio session at a local studio called SI Studios.
And how old are you? This 15, is still like 15. Okay.
15. We were kids. Like, we
you were going to, like, a legit studio.
Yeah. Like, and we didn't know what fuck we were doing, you know. I mean, literally, we were like, this is how naive we were. I remember we were like, oh, we're gonna book 6 hours and we'll record 12 songs. Yeah, of course.
We'll get it all done.
Yeah, of course. That's like, why does anybody do that?
That's what you do. Yeah,
because in your head, we just thought, like, oh, you just go in and you sing and play and then you go home,
and then out pops a CD.
Right, not like, oh, all of this actual, like, crazy work goes into it.
Yeah,
but it really was incredible to go in there into this big studios, like, young kids with, you know, ambitions and dreams, and like play, you have your headphones on, you're playing, and then, okay, go in the control room, and for the first time, you hear some silly song that none of those songs were very good, but to hear them back in like high fidelity, like there's nothing like that feeling. If I put that CD on for you right now, you would laugh. Like, it's terrible. It's terrible. But if you were the bass player, you would know exactly what I mean, like the magic of it. And I know that ever since that moment, like I've been chasing like, okay, I want that like magic feeling again. I still get it in spurts, but nothing like that,
And it's just
different.
the feeling of going in and recording an album or just a song.
Well, just hearing something like, so the best way I could put it is now I'm very in tune to it. Just very in tune to the process. I know what to expect. You know what I mean? So it's like if I go to record a song, I know that after I record the drums and the guitar, or just the drums, that when I walk in the room, I know kind of what I'm looking for, what the sound should be. But that very first time, like that, where it blows your mind, like, oh my God, that's us, like that whole feeling, you can never really get that again. You get close. I think on our newer record, I've like got close a lot of times, going like, holy shit, this feels like really good, but nothing like the magical, youthful, like, oh my God, we're gonna be rock stars. Totally not, but
So what was the outcome of that studio session?
So after that, it was just kind of like the catalyst for doing everything, So we made that little album, and then it was like, well, we made an album or an EP, we made an EP, so we're a real band in our heads now, and so we started doing the thing, like playing the VFWs and playing, the YMCA in Carbondale, like doing that whole thing, and then the band evolved, and members came and went, and, eventually that band melded, kind of fell apart, and another band started with my friend Dan Rosler. He started this band called A Fire with Friends, and I kind of ended up in there for a little bit, and simultaneously I just met this other group of people, and we were starting a band called A Social State, and I ended up like kind of doing both at the same time. Then I was in A Social State, and that was like my baby for like 7 or 8 years, But it really was like, Melded was the start of all of that, It's hard to go really in depth, in detail into all that stuff because it's so long ago, Like I just remember how new everything felt and everything seemed, like rolling up to some show, and especially if you went to a show where there was a really good PA system, really good, powerful PA and lights, like being 17 or 18, that shit's mind-blowing, like, because you're so used to, like, if you go to some VFW and play, and it's just like two speakers on
junk.
Just some junk, like you go to sing and the thing falls off, and some dudes, some dudes like eating chips behind you, you know what I mean? Like,
chips,
it's like a disaster show.
A total shit show.
Exactly, like many of those.
Yeah.
But then when you would show up, like we would play this thing called Rock Fest that our one friend would put on every year at the Waverly Community Center. And he would bring in Magden Music's like big sound setup, and we would always we would talk about that. Like, if you heard us talking about it, it sounded like it sounded like we thought it was Woodstock, because we're like, we gotta get ready, Rockfest, like we're playing Rockfest, man, Rockfest 2, we're playing Rockfest 2, like, but to go somewhere and be like powerful PA with huge monitors and everything, like, it was just also super exciting, So it was that first EP, that first recording session, it was like the catalyst for everything that came after it. It was the whole reason. It was like a drug, like I had a little bit and I was like, I would like a little more,
Yeah,
it's the best way to put it.
Keep doing that.
Keep doing that. It was a healthy drug though. So
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So you put out a little music, played throughout high school, and what did you think would become of this?
Well, it's funny because there's like two versions of me, and I think, there's probably a million versions of everybody, but there was young, naive, 15-year-old to 19-year-old Ed, who was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a rock star. Totally. That's totally going to happen. Like in my head, I was certain. I was 100% certain. Like just because I was going to like will it into existence, like not because I was like, because I'm the shit. It was just because I said so it was going to happen. And then I'm not going to go too in depth, but I had a certain experience, possibly a drug related experience at one point in my life. And I don't fuck with drugs. Like it's not my thing, but one point I did. And it was, I put our CD on while I was
on said drugs.
And I remember just like my stomach kind of twisting, and I looked in the mirror, and I remember immediately being like, you're just some dude. You're just a kid. You're just a kid who lives in Scott Township making some music. Like you're nobody, you know, like the severe realization of like an 18, 19-year-old kid that you're just a person, you know? It sounds really stupid, but I was so, I guess maybe like just so self-involved and in following this thing that I just truly was like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do that because I want to do it. And when I was faced with that kind of weird reality, it like hit me really hard, but I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that moment because it changed my perspective on everything since that day. Because ever since that day, I was like, well, I'm going to try my best to make this the thing I'm going to do. And I tried for years to make it like, you know, the career or whatnot. But really, at the end of the day, my big focus was just like get better, make good records, make music that connects with people. So I'm very grateful for that awful experience I had.
So was that the last time? Was that the last experience?
That was oh yeah. There were only 3 experiences.
Okay, and that was the third and final.
It was hell on earth, and I was done with it. It was over for me.
Yeah.
It gave me the gray hair. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, gave you the great beard that
it
you
did, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so you had this realization that like, okay, hey, you know, I'm just this kid from Scott Township, right? And what did that change for you in terms of like, you know, your music playing and career?
Well, I mean, at the time, as far as a career, there wasn't any. I mean, I was just doing construction, you know, working with my stepfather, working odd jobs in factories and stuff like that. But it just made me way more focused on the actual music, you know, like actually taking the music a lot more seriously and diving deeper into like songwriting and not just, I used to be really like early me when I would write lyrics. I just would say whatever. Like I didn't think lyrics were very important. I was very much under the assumption of like, well, if the music is cool, then the lyrics, I mean, as long as the sentiment is kind of there, it'll be okay. But after that, I kind of started putting a lot more thought into the lyrics and a lot more time into the lyrics of like, you know, because the words, people are going to recognize themselves in those words. And that's not that lyrics are most important. I think at the end of the day, melody is the most important. If you can't latch somebody or reel somebody in with a great melody, then they're not going to hear your great lyrics.
They're not going to listen to the words.
Exactly. So melody first, but the lyric, it was kind of like eye-opening as far as like just really going internal. I think a lot of the fear that came out of those experiences it started a wave of like subject matter that I've been on for the past like most of my life, you know, and current life events, things that happen in your life, you know, but yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So just a little bit ago, you mentioned the word connection. Like you write music and make music that you feel connects with people. And I think you kind of just touched on it a little bit again just now. So like, it's like, where do you get the inspiration? Like, tell me like where, you know, when you're writing a song, where does it come from?
Well, when I write a song, I got to kind of go backwards, like, because when I used to write a song, even after those experiences, I would be very analytical, and like sit down, pen and pad, and really go, okay, this is the verse. I'm working on the verse for a week. And over the course of years, I've kind of developed a new process and something I've stuck with for the last 10 years, where I more or less just kind of pick up a guitar, hit a voice memo, and I just play, and I just imagine a song and try to create it in one go, and then go back and listen, find the good thing, edit it, create the song. But as far as, I think I lost the question. I fucked up. I fucked up.
How you write the songs and where you get the inspiration.
Where I get the inspiration. I apologize. So that's where I was headed. The inspiration, I think I just try to go beyond, that's what I was getting at. I try to go beyond my psyche as far as like being super like, I'm going to write a song about this. This is the thing that inspires me. Like, it's not like that, I'll write and I'll start mumbling a melody, like just hit a voice record and make something up on the spot. And I'll start, mumbling melodies and ad-libbing crap that seems meaningless. But then all of a sudden, like beyond like my comprehension, like a phrase will just sort of come out. And I'll stop and I'll go, oh, okay, well, what's that about? And so I'll sing that phrase over and over again. And then like some other thing will come out that reflects that phrase. So it's like going into like your subconscious almost. It's like bringing out the things that you're scared to say or scared to talk about, but you're not like sitting there with a pen going like, well, how do I say it? You're just kind of letting those things come out and then kind of going back and editing them. So that's that process internally is just inspiring to me, just because it seems like it's work, no doubt, but it just seems more natural. It seems like it's real and true because I'm not overthinking it. I usually start to really think about those things when I have a bunch of songs and I'm creating a work like a record or something like that, because then I start thinking of like, well, how are these related, and I see the context between song 3 and song 7, and I use that lyric there and there and there. I see the connection. I know what I'm talking about there, so I'm going to put that one here, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird way to explain it, but
yeah. So like, is the content, like you said, like, is it some of it like about like emotion or your emotions? Like, can you give me like an example of something that like, you took like an emotion, right? And like you said, like at first you're writing something, you're not really sure what it is, but then, like you said, you kind of go into your subconscious.
So, most things or most good pieces of music seem to happen I don't like to say that, but in spite of some form of suffering. And I didn't come up with that. That was Wilco's Jeff Tweedy. Because, not to go off on a whole thing, but real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
He said that he used to get asked, like, does it seem like the best art comes out of suffering? And he said, no, I think the best art comes out in spite of suffering. And I think that's like the best way to look at it, because it's not like, if your life's in shambles, that means your art's going to be great. If you have the power and the control and the ability to dig down deep and say like, fuck that, I'm not going down that into that well of terrible depression, this awful thing that happened to me. I'm going against that, and I'm going to put all these things onto paper. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I that really connects to me, and I like to keep using that.
So was there a time like in your life that you felt like you went down that path? And then
many times, almost every record that I made, like, because records take a little while. They take, it's not, if you're doing an EP or doing a couple singles, it might take a month or however long you want to go with it. But when you're creating an album, it's like a year and a half, a year, 6 months, 2 years. Our newest record was 2 years working on it, but as far as like when we made the On-Off Reset record, the first record that we had, that was just me. I just went in and made the record. Right before that record came out, my band, A Social State, that I was first talking about, we had just broken up. Me and my wife, we were going through a breakup at that point. So that record kind of like my life was fucking crazy.
In shambles.
It was kind of in shambles. But then my life got better, because I started going to the studio, and me and the wife, everything got better there, and everything just kind of got better as I took steps to make it better. So this record was just like, the record, I think, inspires healing. The work inspires the healing and the being creative, or it's that doing it in spite of it, And the same thing with the Clear record, which was like, an awful circumstance. Like, my mom unexpectedly passed away in 2018, and that whole record was just like all based around grief and how wild it could be and how much it could fuck your head up, So yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of emotion probably in that album.
Yeah. I just feel like that's the most sincere place I can come from, It's not that I don't write about positive emotions, and I do, and I have, but it seems like when you're in that place, it's just the records that I loved growing up, the records that I really attached myself to were records that I would identify with when I was in what felt like hell, even if it wasn't really hell, just some like 14-year-old version of hell, like, Joe Eminem's a price chopper. Yeah. So, it's so stupid. What's it called? But those records, like, I gravitate to those, not like a happy song. A happy song doesn't make me feel good. A happy song makes me want to throw a fucking stereo out a window. You know what I mean? Just drives me nuts. Like, if I'm pissed or if I'm upset, the last thing I want to hear is like a happy, like I'll kill someone, Yeah. But if I hear something that's melancholy and is matching the feeling that I'm feeling, and I could kind of dwell in that, for the 3 to 5 minutes, however long the tune is, then I feel like a sense of like cleansing through that. So I'm just like, I'm kind of addicted to that. Yeah, so maybe that's the whole thing.
Yeah. So you're creating music that you used to relate to.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, that's it. 100%.
Yeah.
That's my goal, is because I know there's definitely I'm sure that there are other people who have felt what I've felt, because I'm human, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah. There's other Eds out there.
Yeah, definitely other Eds out there. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So you just recently came off a tour with Cold. Talk about that a little bit.
So, well, back in 2018, we put out that Clear record, the second one that's all about grief and whatnot. And I've said this a bunch of times, but when we were making that record, I was very much like, this is going to be the last big work. I was just like in a rough place, and I was kind of I just didn't know if I was going to take on another big project ever again. I was going to just pour everything I had into that. And then from there on out, I'll do some singles, maybe an EP, do some acoustic stuff. And I never said that to anybody, but that was my internal plan. And we put out that record, and people locally just really like held the band up and held me up and like celebrated it. Really, like, just so beautiful that they did that. And then out of nowhere, I got a message from Nick Coyle, who's the guitar player in Cold, and he's the singer of the band called Lifer. And he hit me up. He's like, "Hey, how do you feel about doing a tour with Cold? Like being one of the opening bands?" I was like, "What? Yeah, like, yeah, I fucking want to do that, Yeah. So, from like, and that's like again, not to go backwards, but I've toured before. I toured in, vans, and toured in my SUV with the trailer, going and playing 15, 16 shows in a row, playing little shitty VFWs and to 10 people or whatever, and then going home, but I never something on that scale where you're playing like actual clubs and theaters and people being there, So yeah, we talked about it, and we picked a couple of dates to go out with them. For the first one in 2019, it was the Broken Human tour, and I think we did 23 dates in total, and it was just such a blast. And I love those guys. I love Nick. I love Scooter. I love the whole band, Cold. They're great, and they really just like lifted us up and took care of us. And then they invited us back out again for this past tour, the Black Sunday tour. And this time we did the whole tour, you know, like I think it was 40 some dates or 39 dates or something like that. And it's just bonkers, you know. It's bonkers because in my head, like I said, when I was a kid, I was like, you know, 15, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. And to get hit with that reality check and be like, you know what, it's okay if I don't do it. Like, I'm happy, I like to play music. I love to do it. I'm going to do it whether I'm putting up drywall or I'm playing on the road. I'm going to do it, you know? Because of that mentality shift, I think that's why those things started to happen, you know? When I made the first record, On-Off Reset record, that was a big thing I told myself the whole time. I was like, I'm doing this as a completely selfish act. You know, I think all the other times I had made records, they were selfish and artistic acts, you know, as far as the work. But, you know, there's always that part of your head like, okay, I could send it to this label and maybe I can get this management. Maybe I can get this. And that's how we'll get things going.
So like almost like you were trying too hard.
Exactly.
You were like trying to force it.
Exactly. And I mean, for years, like slammed my head against like a brick wall. It felt like for 10 years, just, you know, of just rejection. Hey, can we get on this tour? No. Hey, can we get on would you check this out? Hey, oh yeah, we'll check that out. And then people being like, nah, we're not into it. Like just a ton of that. So when I made that first record, I was very much like, I'm doing this because I love it. That's it.
And I'm just going to stop trying to force all that other stuff.
Exactly. And literally, I've said this to so many people, even at shows, like friends, peers, like bands that are up and coming that are friends of mine. I try to like drill this point home because I meet so many people and I know so many people get so down on themselves. Like, I can't make anything happen. Like, why isn't this working? Or why we started to do it and then it didn't happen. I was just like, give yourself a fucking break, man. So I don't mean be lazy. I mean, keep doing everything. Keep doing everything with the ambition and the same love that you have, but do it all about the love. Completely about the love. And take the careerist attitude and throw it in the fucking trash can. Because I truly believe, like, with music, like, if you're doing it from a place of you know, just being genuine and being sincere, people are going to react to that. If it's good and your band is killer and you're a genuine songwriter, a genuine musician, people will react to what you're doing. You know, it's not getting the greatest PR campaign or getting some great manager and your songs being so-so or your band being kind of shitty. Like, doesn't do anything. You know, having a label lift you up, but you not having anything to really say doesn't make a difference. The thing that matters most is, you know, what you when you're putting pen to paper. That's what matters. So I'm a big believer in just doing it because you love it, and everything else icing on the cake. You know, it's okay if I'm not a rock star. It's okay. Like, I can deal with that. I paint ceilings from now.
Yeah, I guess sore neck. Everyone.
Sore neck. Yeah, fucking blows. But that's okay. It's totally okay.
Yeah.
It makes when something like that Black Sunday tour happens, it makes it so much more. I'm just so much more grateful for, like, holy shit. Like, I got to go play the Whiskey A Go-Go. Like, what am I doing at the fucking Whiskey A Go-Go? You know,
yeah,
like,
who am I?
Yeah, like, I have no business doing this, but I'm lucky enough to get to go and do it. So yeah, but that ended up happening. It was amazing, and we're planning to go back out, I think, with them possibly in the spring. So
very cool.
Yeah,
well, it's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
That's super cool. And
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So what is that like going? You know, like I said, there was probably like 30 some, almost 40 stops on a tour. Mm-hmm. What is that like? You know.
It's funny because a lot of it there's a lot of people who can't deal with it. You know, it's not what they think it's going to be, or there's a lot of people who think it's going to be something and it's totally not the thing they think it's going to be. You know what I mean?
What was it like for you?
Well, I think a lot of people, for me personally, it was kind of that one, the one in 2019, all the tours I'd done prior, like, it was just what I wanted it to be. It was the thing I've been wanting to do that my whole life, and I try to make little attempts at road gigs and whatever. It's going somewhere, seeing a little bit of the world, even if it's just, you know, going and seeing a little bit of Maryland, you know what I mean? Or going and seeing wherever. And you play a show in front of people, and you meet a bunch of nice people, and sometimes, like, you know, you go to a venue and the venue has like a really nice dog that's just cool. It's like, oh, it's Joe or whatever, you know what I mean?
He's the venue dog.
Yeah, he's a venue dog, you know? And but I mean, it was amazing. I just got to go to a new place every day, meet wonderful people, play music, play great shows, sometimes play a shitty show, you know. The first week of the tour, I lost my voice. So for 7 days, I didn't have a voice.
Not good for business.
Not good for business. But it was kind of a kick at the same time. It was kind of a great experience because it taught me a lot. It was like, okay, well, if I'm in that scenario ever again, 1, treat my voice better. But 2, if I'm ever in that scenario again, just put on a good show. Do the best you could. People will hold you up, you know, So I just love the whole thing. I love traveling, but I don't really like staying anywhere. So it's kind of perfect for me.
It's a win-win for you.
It's a win. Even vacations and stuff. Me and my wife are going on vacation in 2 weeks or something like that, just for 3 days. But even I'm excited to go on my vacation, but 3 days in one spot for me, or 10 days in one spot for me, I just get kind of antsy, you know?
Yeah, you get bored.
I get kind of bored, or not even bored. It's hard to explain, but but to just go oh, we're stopping here. We're here for a little bit, and oh, we get a day off. So okay, we're here for 2 days, and now we're woke up and we're somewhere different. It's fucking crazy. I don't know. It just feels that the lifestyle feels extremely natural and normal to me, where I think a lot of people, it doesn't feel natural to them, and if they need to be I need to be home. A lot of people, my aunt, I love my aunt. She's the sweetest woman ever. But she always asks, or not ask me, but be like I would look at those dates and be like, how are they doing that? Isn't it crazy going from show to show and, being somewhere else, a different day somewhere? I'd be like, it's fucking awesome. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish everybody could do it. I wish everybody felt like I feel about it.
Yeah.
So.
And you have the energy just to keep going.
Yeah. And I mean, there's days where I'm tired, but that's the one good thing though about the jobs I've had and working construction. Now I'm a painter and whatnot, but all those jobs require you to be up really early, and playing music requires you usually to practice and be up pretty late. So for most of my life, I've only been getting between 3 to 6 hours of sleep, my entire life. I don't get it's very seldom that I get 8 to 12 hours of good sleep. It just doesn't normally happen. So for me, it's normal to get in a car and be oh yeah, I'm only gonna sleep 4 hours tonight, or I'm only gonna sleep 2 hours, and I'll get up and I'll drive for a little bit and sleep 2 more hours or whatever when we get there. But for some people, it's fucking shell shock,
Yeah, I could never.
Yeah, and
I could never.
Totally normal.
Yeah,
it's totally normal. But for me, I was just
it works for you.
Yeah. I also smoke cigarettes and drink coffee to keep me going.
Okay, so that helps a little.
It helps a little bit.
Yeah,
in the now.
Yeah, right.
Right now it helps. Yeah. For now.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned a little bit, but you're coming out with your third album.
Yes.
All right. So you mentioned a little bit before. You started it before, or right around the pandemic, 2020, right?
Yes.
And then I know you and I spoke a little bit before you came, but it kind of fizzled out, and now it's here it is.
Right.
By the time this episode comes out, the album will be out.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So go back to 2020. What? Why did it almost fizzle out?
So, well, what initially happened was first we weren't even going to make a record yet. There wasn't any real plan to make a record. And then, through our old drummer, Steve, he had introduced us to Paul, who runs 8 days a week. And we kind of met up. And this is before pandemic hits, right before it hits. And we talked about possibly doing something together. And then we met up another time, and we got along really good, me and Paul Smith. We just liked a lot of the same records, and we were trying to do a lot of the same things. So there was immediate kinship there, and just okay, we're going to work well together. And so we just got ready, started preparing to go down to the studio, and I started writing a bunch of songs. I was so again, back in that one band, A Social State, when I was in that band, we went and recorded this record called How to Get to Heaven, and I've always loved half of that record and hated the other half of that record. Production's great. Studio did a great job, but I hated the songs that I wrote. And it was because the only songs I had were the 12 or 13 songs that were on that record. And I always kick myself in the ass when I think of that record. because I'm always like, if I just had spent more time focusing on the actual songs, you know, prior to, it would be, I would be eternally proud of that record. And when we had this specific situation of working with Paul at 8 days a week, I was like, there is no way in fucking hell that I'm going to end up down there. And we planned to spend a lot of time with just 12 songs for a record. So I like overcorrect it, and I wrote like 55, 60 fucking songs, like demos, like like not perfect. I just mean like layers of everything. Like I had the guitar parts, this, that, the drums, how everything's going to go before we even set foot in the studio. So we went down there for 3 days, and we picked like 3 tunes to work on. And then I might be messing up the timeline a little bit, but essentially what happened was we just about started, and then the world shut down. And nobody knew what to do. So we were all just like, let's just hold off for a little bit. And during that period, I kept just writing. And that's how it worked. So before we even went down, everything closed down, and then I kept writing.
So this gave you an opportunity to write more.
Yeah, because I mean, I was literally couldn't work for a while. Remember I was saying I had that little podcast thing I was doing. So like, what's it called? I just had all this time to just keep rotating and writing songs. So by the time we were able to get down the studio, we picked from like the 50 or so of those songs. We picked, I think it was the 20 best ones, and then we recorded 18 of them, and then we whittled those down to 12. So it was like a real insane fucking process, like insane. But what happened was there was a lot of energy, and there was just a lot of stuff going on. You know, we're playing shows, and we were trying to figure out, because we knew that this tour with Cold was going to happen once things could happen again. And in the midst of all of that, like when we were starting to mix the record, like at the end when we got everything done, we just couldn't get the mixes like where we needed them to be. And I think it was just us being me, Paul, Ryan, the whole band. Like we were just all in it, like way too much, you know, like we couldn't see the forest through the trees kind of shit, you know, because that happens with anything you do. Like, so we needed some outside perspective. So we went back to the studio that recorded the Clear record, these first 2 records with Joe Loftus and Jay Preston, and I asked Joe Loftus if he would remix the record, and he remixed it. He had time to do it, and now we have our record, thankfully. But our plan was to have it for the tour, and when we went to go on tour, we realized like it just wasn't going to happen. So it was a bummer. It was like, we're not going to have this record for the tour. But I think in a weird way, like the stars aligned. I think this is the way that it was supposed to be, you know, because now we're having, you know, this end of the month kind of big release party thing. And it's like, it truly feels celebratory now, where before it just would have been like a little footnote in what we were doing.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
So it all worked out for the best. Joe did a great job mixing the record. Paul did an amazing job tracking and producing the record, and features a lot more of the other band members. Like Angelo, my guitar player, you know, he co-wrote one of the songs with me, and that's the first time that's really happened in my bands. Like, not the other guys in other bands wrote stuff, but where there was lyrics co-written, melodies co-written, you know, not just a guitar part or whatever. And Ryan, you know, there might be a secret song on the record that Ryan wrote, just completely his song that he wrote and sing. So potentially. I've no guarantees, but it's awesome. I'm really proud of it.
Awesome.
Really proud.
So there's a real lot of work that goes into creating an album. I think the average person just doesn't realize.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I think it's different for everybody too, though, because that amount of work is determined by how far you're willing to take it and what you focus on. You know, there's some people who will work on one song for like 6 months, and I'm not that guy. Like, I'm a perfectionist, but not in that way. Like, I won't work on one song for 6 months. Like, I'll work on like 1 million songs for 6 months, you know, like, and not because I'll just keep trying to write songs. I'm like where a lot of people will be like, I just want the song to be right. I want the quality of this one song to be perfect. And me, I'm less worried about perfection. I'm more worried about, I'm like, the quality will come. I just got to
eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like
you just keep writing.
Just crank them out. Like just keep moving the ball forward, because I don't like when things are stagnant. I don't like when it's like, well, we can't do anything because I'm still perfecting.
You're still stuck on that one song.
I'm perfecting the song for a year, that everybody's going to hear one time and maybe not give a shit about, like I'd rather just have a bunch of work, but it's not, like I said, it's not like a little 15-year-old Ed like going like, yeah, we got 6 hours in the studio with 12 songs.
Done.
It's done. Easy. Fucking great. Yeah. Do it every time. Save some money.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like that.
Because it's not cheap either.
No, it's not. It's money. But
and a lot of people involved.
Yeah. And we did some other things. Like we had Paul had this like weird connection to Sylvia Massey, who she like engineered like one of System of a Down's records and like Tool's records, and like she's done amazing things, and we had her like mix a song.
That's awesome.
So like it was crazy. But we had Joe do another mix just for the album, but the amount of personnel, because Steve played on a couple songs, played drums on a couple songs. I played drums on a bunch of the songs. Ange would play guitar here or there. Grut would pick up a guitar. Like it was kind of everybody doing everything. Paul plays bass on like the ending of a song, so it's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So throughout this whole journey of music for you, what has it taught you most about like yourself and life?
That's a really good question. Well, I'll say right off the bat, like, it's not so, like it sounds so cliche, like, it's not about the destination, man, it's the journey, like that whole thing, like, but it's kind of true. It's like, you want to savor these experiences, like, you want to savor all of the moments. You want to savor the bad times and the good times with all of it. And I think that applies to like your life too, like outside of your career, your family, like the ups and the downs to everything. We want to, it just has taught me to savor all the little things. And when we're in a rut, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like a thing we're getting through, So it taught me a lot about just having gratitude for people and band members that have been in the band and are no longer in the band, and people in my life who were in my life and are no longer in my life. It's a crazy ride, but I think gratitude mostly.
Yeah, so it's just the process and the journey.
Yeah, I think so, because who's to say? Tomorrow something great could happen, or tomorrow I don't wake up and it's over. So instead of focusing on all of the terrible things and all the I should have been, or the things should have worked out this way, I choose to focus on, the right now of like, this podcast rules. I'm having a really fun time. This is great. Like, oh shit, I got a song idea, or, oh, can't wait to go home and see Chelsea and see Wilco. Like, oh, it's going to be cool. Like,
yeah,
I'm more focused on those things. So
Chelsea, your wife?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She plays piano too. She plays piano on the first song on the record, Intro.
Very cool.
She's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right. So new album coming out.
Yes.
How can people find it?
So you're going to want to go anywhere you see streaming, every streaming platform, everyone. We're going to be on Spotify. We're going to be on Apple Music. Every branch of that. I think it's kind of silly for me to go to Deezer, those, like,
just
all those,
every major platform.
Every major platform will be on. If you want to, follow the band for like specific updates as far as like touring and gigs and shit like
that.
that.
I was gonna kind of ask, like, what's coming up?
Yeah, well, at the moment we have the August 26th, the release show. And I don't really want to announce anything just yet. We do have things in the making, like some one-offs. The goal, we would like to put together some week runs and little things before we do another big run, whenever that's going to happen. Because technically, I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Technically.
Finger quotes.
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think the best place to stay in touch and to kind of follow the band is our Instagram first and foremost, which is just at University Drive. On Facebook, which is just facebook.com/University Drive Band. Twitter, we're uni_drive. And I mean, really, that's about it. Those are the places that where we're most active. You know, you can check out our TikTok. Kind of fucking sucks at the moment.
It sucks.
I don't know how to do. Dude, I'm the worst at it. Everybody, if the band was here, Ryan Grutt was literally telling me how terrible I run our TikTok and Instagram the other night, and I know I do. I know I'm not good at it. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's okay though.
Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah,
well, at least you're trying.
I'm trying.
Right?
I'm not sweating the small stuff.
Yeah.
Right now.
Focused on the bigger picture.
Exactly.
You know?
Trying.
Yeah. But I'd like to see some TikToks though.
Yeah. I'll show you some. They're not good.
Yeah. All right. You'll get better.
Thank you.
I have confidence.
I appreciate the support.
Yeah. Definitely. I've definitely got some confidence in you for
Thank
that.
you.
So. Well, dude, this was great. We didn't get as many shots in at Eric as I thought we would. But
yeah, next time. I mean, he still sucks.
Yeah, he does.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll continue the conversation.
I think it's better that way.
Yeah.
When these are off.
Yeah.
Because you don't want him to hear.
Yeah, he'll.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, this is cool. Congratulations
Thank you, man.
On the new album.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. This has been a fucking blast.
Yeah,
Love it.
but on a serious note, thanks to Eric for
Yes,
connecting us. Because
yes.
if it wasn't for Eric, we wouldn't be sitting across the table from each other.
Seriously,
right now.
yeah. And if it wasn't for Eric, I wouldn't have, two really awesome music videos. They were all, Eric. Mark helped a lot, our guitar player, Mark Naples, but Eric, he's a really great guy, and what he does is really fucking amazing. So
He is.
yeah.
So, all right, we gave him some love.
Had to. Is
How much did he pay you to say that?
I think it was 30, 35.
Yeah.
I saw a 5 in there.
Couple zeros.
No.
Couple two. No,
Just 35
just
bucks.
straight 35.
Just 35 bucks.
Oh,
It was just
jeez.
enough for some gas and maybe
just to get here, right?
Burger King and the ride here.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, this is great. Again, I
Yeah.
appreciate you coming in, and
Same, man.
then you hooked me up with some swag.
Hell yeah.
So
That's what we do.
Appreciate that as well.
Fuck yeah.
All right, man.
Awesome.
Yep. All right. Ed Cuozzo on the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door Studio. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
If you want to see more On the Stacks content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/onthestackspodcast or search the hashtag #OnTheStacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on The Stacks.